creating one large cinematic universe containing interconnected stories to scale multiple franchises and go on for now 14 years is nothing but a miracle. Nothing like this had ever been pulled off successfully before and nor since. Though the MCU has its fair share of problems, I can't commend them enough for the effort of creating something so incredible. The MCU delivered some of the most enjoyable movies in the last decade, and it's truly an incredible and impressive feat. But even if I like and enjoy Marvel movies, I can't ignore a big problem that has occurred since Avengers Endgame, and that problem is the multiverse problem.
We tampered with the stability of space-time. Multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little.
The multiverse is the focus of a lot of ongoing and upcoming Marvel projects, starting from Loki, Spider-Man No Way Home, and now the Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Now I'm just very confused and skeptical about seeing what this franchise is becoming, even though it has potential to keep itself going for years to come. So, the multiverse problem. It all started with Avengers Endgame, the very same film that was the conclusion of a interconnected 10-year storyline. It has so many great moments and emotional payoffs to some of the greatest characters.
We're in the endgame now.
Before we're done, we still have one promise to keep. If we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn sure we'll avenge it. Whatever it takes.
But it also came with a lot of flaws and plot holes. Even the film contradicts itself while explaining about the time travel theory. The directors and writers are contradicting each other in the interviews. Although it was a great movie experience and an epic conclusion to a saga, it also started a problem, and that is the multiverse problem. Anyway, I agree that anyone can interpret their own way of creating stories around multiverse and create its own rules, as the concept is not real, at least not scientifically proven. But the major problem with the MCU is that it sets no distinction between alternate timelines and alternate universes. As shown in Loki, the two act as same, and it is a major problem, and it creates a lot of plot holes. And also the writers constantly contradicts to each other in multiple stories. So now we have to know, why is it a problem? Because it doesn't make any sense if alternate timelines and alternate universes are the same. Alternate universes can be completely different and also can be similar to our universe. There are infinite universes because there is infinite possibilities. Basically, every universe has its own timeline according to the generally agreed upon concepts for the multiverse ought to operate as a storytelling device. As per Avengers Endgame, an alternate timeline occurs when you travel back in time and change something in the past. So from that point, a new timeline branches off from the original timeline.
If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future, and your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
Exactly.
Since the MCU has established that alternate timelines and alternate universes are the same, we now have to break down the time travel logistics of Endgame, and you cannot make any sense of it. The explanation given by Professor Hulk is that every time you change any event in the timeline, it automatically branches off to a new timeline, which means it also branches out into an entirely new universe as per MCU. Now the movie itself doesn't really stick to these rules. The movie contradicts its own rules in the end while Captain Steve Rogers goes into the mission to return the Infinity Stones to its place in time, and then lives his life from 1940s to the present with Peggy Carter and comes back as an old man, but not through the time travel machine. How is that even possible? The only explanation here is that he is stuck around in this timeline for all those decades without changing a single thing, coexisting with his younger self and watched all it happening. And here the director said in an interview that he lived in an alternate timeline and gets back to the original timeline. While contradicting this, the writers have said that Steve was in this timeline only. Endgame is really a hot mess when you try to break it down, and it's made even worse by Loki. So Loki ruins the rules established in the Endgame completely. Now Loki establishes a new set of rules and contradicts itself in the same story. According to the show, alternate timelines, perhaps universes, can be created if someone or something steps even slightly off their path, which is determined by Kang. And it can be so simple as showing up late for the work. And here comes the TVA to regulate the timelines, and they prune these alternate timelines, means the timelines got erased to maintain one single sacred timeline. And the pruned people or things goes to the end of time to be consumed by a cloud monster. And by this logic, I wonder how the MCU is gonna explain Schrodinger's cat theory or experiment. Basically, the Schrodinger's cat is a thought experiment that illustrates a paradox of quantum superposition. In simple words, if you put a cat in a closed box and no one opens it or look at it, then the cat is both alive and dead simultaneously because of its fate being linked to a random subatomic event that may or may not occur. And according to TVA, the time travel of Avengers was supposed to happen, right? But here is the fun part. Cap and Tony went to 1970s to collect some more Pym particles and Tesseract because of Loki's escaping in 2012. So then, if Loki's escape wasn't supposed to happen, then also Cap and Tony's 1970 visit should also be pruned. And one of the main plot points in Loki, apparently if you go to a world-ending disaster and change the course of things, you don't end up changing anything, because all the things you did essentially gets erased when the world ends. And it contradicts to the Professor Hulk explanation of time travel. The writers seem to believe that because nobody will live on to remember the changes that were made to this timeline, it won't create an alternate timeline. Means these are not big enough changes to branch into their own separate realities. And it contradicts to the earlier rule of the show that a timeline can be created even something as simple as showing up late to the work. I guess if only Kang or He Who Remains notices something different, then it's a problem. And the show obviously doesn't explain how is the one to dictate all of this. I hope they explain it somehow in the future. And the show also didn't stick to the apocalypse rule. While Lamentin's planet was going to destroy it, a new timeline formed because of Loki and Sylvie's love. Yes, they're just setting a rule to break it. And now another contradiction, that Kang wanted Loki and Sylvie to continue on this path and everything happened to his will. Then what is the point of the rule of you can change anything in a world-ending disaster? And also, if alternate timeline is same as alternate universe, then it can't be explained how different looking variants exist. Because the way you look, your height, hair color and everything about you is decided in the time of conception. It creates an unique DNA and the genetic code. In alternate universe, I can accept the different looking variants, but in alternate timelines means something have to be changed in the timeline, so it doesn't make any sense. And now finally, the time for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and it completely throws away the rules of Loki. And surprisingly enough, these two were written by the same writer. Now that's something. After watching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I liked it for the direction and visuals, but it didn't justify its name. We got only a couple of alternate universes and a small montage of traveling through the multiverse. And honestly, it didn't feel like a multiversal threat. And America Chavez. What a lame way to introduce a character. This movie introduces us, and one of the main plot points centered around the character of America Chavez, and she can travel between universes. And the movie tells us that she is the only one America Chavez in the vast multiverse, and she is the only one who possesses this power. Really, this movie tells us she is the only one in infinite number of universes. Now it will be funny if Ancient One told her, who are you in this vast multiverse?
Who are you in this vast multiverse?
Okay, then if that's so, how the Watcher and Ultron travel through all universes? For Watcher, an exception can be made because he is established as a godly character who sees everything in every universe. But how Ultron did that? He just had Infinity Stones, which are of no use in TVA. If Ultron did it, so could Thanos also had this power when he wielded all the Infinity Stones? And also theoretically, only one America Chavez in all the universes is very wrong. In theory, every choice of her should create a new universe, where she did or choose something else. If she jumps to 616 universe, there is also a universe where she doesn't jump to 616. I think the creators know frighteningly little about the multiverse. I'm not saying I know better than them, which I don't. I just want them to create some good rules for the use of time travel multiverse timelines, because they are certainly moving toward multiversal stories. If there will be so much plot holes, unexplained rules, then this can fail. It will leave audience confused and it will be very uninteresting to watch and follow further. And coming to Wanda, I think the creators of Multiverse of Madness didn't watch WandaVision, and I can see why, because it's boring. She turned good from evil in Age of Ultron, then turned evil in WandaVision, then turned good in the end of WandaVision, and now she becomes evil one more time in Multiverse of Madness.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
Yeah, these people, they just got brainwashed for a month, and I guess that's okay.
And I'm really interested in knowing who is the father of 838 Wanda's children, because we saw in WandaVision that Wanda created them using magic. Is the 838 Wanda and the other universes Wandas also created them with magic and created a hex reality around their house? Or she created a hex away from all society in the vast empty land, creating her children and a whole new society? She can go to a different empty planet and create a hex there also. I mean, the options are there. Then why 616 Wanda can't do that? Unless we are to believe that other universes Billy and Tommy were created the normal way. And that leads to an important question. Who is their father? Surely not Vision, right? In 838, Thanos was defeated before collecting all the Infinity Stones. So that means Vision is probably alive. Or this universe doesn't have a Vision at all. And if that's the case, the whole point of WandaVision about Wanda's grief is not really happening in 838 universe. And can just Wanda find an universe where her multiversal self is dead and she gets to live with the children? I guess no, because the movie has to happen, right? Well, all these points never explained in the movie. In 616, Doctor Strange saw all the possibilities to defeat Thanos, 14,605 possibilities to defeat Thanos. Are those alternate timelines or alternate universes? That's also not explained or explored anywhere in MCU. And I also have a problem of naming the universes. Or 616 and 838 name in the movie, I think it's not canon, because it is named by a human. And I also want to know who will name their own universe 838 after discovering about the multiverse. And if you found out about the multiverse, then you should also know that it's infinite. So why will you appoint a human to designate a number to infinite number of universes? And also, what a coincidence that Mysterio also referred to 616 in Far From Home, the same number designated by a human to the main universe in an alternate universe. And also, there is Sony making their own universe of MCU's multiverse. And the greatest movie ever, Morbius, comes out. And it debunks all the rules of No Way Home, destroys the character of Vulture, who was in the MCU.
They about to taste my Morbius. I got that acrimonious odious. Cause the bats are copious. My blood flows harmonious. About to act felonious. You know they hating us, and you're getting treasonous. Ooh, when they get hit with the Morbius. I got that acrimonious odious. Cause the bats are copious. My blood flows harmonious. About to act felonious. You know they hating us, and we're getting treasonous. Ooh, when they get bit with the Morbius, 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 Morbius.
His name is Dr. Michael Morbius.
And now in Miss Marvel, the creators just debunked all the rules and logistic of time travel and timelines again. Yes, now they're telling us that Kamala saving her nanny or grandmother was always happened, means it's kind of a time loop. But this breaks Avengers Endgame and Loki's explanation of timelines. In MCU, time loop can't happen because according to Endgame and Loki, time traveling creates a new timeline or universe. Phase 4 of the MCU has had a lot of problems than just this. This was only about the multiverse problem. There is also terrible world building, shows that are just unenjoyable, and all the shows are just mediocre. At this point, I seriously don't know what are the proper rules and logistics of time travel, timelines and multiverse in MCU. I guess MCU can do anything without explanation because the movie or show has to happen. How convenient is that? The MCU is progressing towards the multiversal storyline and setting up Avengers Secret Wars and Kang Dynasty. But in Phase 4 there is only 3 projects out of 11 that was about multiverse. Loki, No Way Home, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And they had nothing to do with each other, except they all share a vaguely similar story concept. In the post-credit of No Way Home, there was a trailer for Multiverse of Madness, which looked like the events of Multiverse of Madness will follow on from No Way Home. That Doctor Strange have to deal with the problems that occurred because of the event of No Way Home or his past. But no, it was nothing to do about this. The multiverse part was only a minor part in the story. It's just there as a storytelling device, despite the fact that the title is Multiverse of Madness. At this point I am very skeptical about MCU. I don't know how they will handle all these unexplainable plot holes.
I think you're overthinking it.
I think you're underthinking it.
And if you want to see how a good multiverse movie looks like, then watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's a masterpiece. And also you can watch my video about it.
With great power comes the absolute certainty that you'll turn into a right cunt.
What?